Ambassador Gray pressed his hand against the enormous viewing window of the flagship. His reflection stared back at him, tall and thin, outlined against Earth's brilliant blue glow. After 10,000 years of bringing new worlds into the galactic family, the Council had become experts at making first contact. They knew every step, every word, every gesture that worked. But something felt wrong this time. Gray couldn't shake the feeling crawling up his spine as he studied the blue planet below. "We've finished scanning them, Ambassador," the captain announced, her voice breaking through his thoughts. "They've got spacecraft, they've figured out how to split the atom, and everyone down there carries devices that let them talk to each other instantly, no matter where they are on the planet. All the usual signs of a level 3 civilization." Gray gave a slight nod, watching starlight dance across his silver skin. "Start the greeting sequence. Send it out on every frequency they use. Make sure it reaches them in all their major languages." The message they sent was beautifully simple, the same message that had worked perfectly, time after time, world after world. "Hello, people of Earth. We mean you no harm. We speak for the Galactic Council, a union of more than 10,000 different species, all living together in harmony and helping each other grow. We'd like to talk with you and welcome you to the larger universe." Then came the waiting, the endless, uncomfortable waiting. In all the Council's thousands of years of reaching out to new worlds, no species had ever taken more than 60 minutes to answer. Most responded within moments, their messages bursting with excitement and wonder, and 1,000 questions about the stars. 6 hours crawled by. Gray called his team together. "Tell me what we're seeing. What are they doing down there?" The chief analyst stepped forward, his expression troubled. "That's what's so strange, sir. They're definitely getting our message. We can track their equipment pointed right at us. But instead of answering, they're just going about their regular day. Their military ships have moved into defensive positions, yes, but they haven't powered up any weapons. Their news channels are showing normal programs. It's like they've decided to simply ignore us." A cold feeling washed over Gray. In all his years of service, across hundreds of worlds, he'd never seen this reaction. "Show me where their military forces are positioned." The hologram flickered to life, showing Earth surrounded by ships and satellites. But this wasn't the panicked scrambling of a primitive species caught off guard. This was the smooth, coordinated movement of a force that knew exactly what it was doing. "Ambassador," the sensor officer's voice cracked with urgency, "we're picking up strange energy readings from the dark side of the planet. It looks like they're activating some kind of shield system, a planetary shield." Gray moved closer to the window, his eyes fixed on the peaceful-looking world below. "They knew," he said softly, "not just suspected. They knew we were coming, and they've been getting ready." The captain shifted uncomfortably beside him. "Should we try the next phase of contact? Maybe a more direct approach?" "No." Gray's answer came instantly. "Something is very different here. Look at how they're acting. They knew we were coming, yet instead of reaching out to us or answering our call, they choose silence." He paused, his mind working through the implications. Their silence is their message to us. As if the universe wanted to prove his point, a single text message appeared on their communication screen. The words were simple, direct, and absolutely unprecedented. "Message received. No response needed. Keep your distance from Earth's orbital space." The entire bridge crew stared at the screen in stunned silence. No species had ever turned down the Council's offer of friendship. The responses were usually filled with excitement, sometimes tinged with fear, occasionally showing caution, but never this calm, calculated dismissal. "Ambassador," the captain said carefully, "the Council will want to hear from us. What should we tell them?" Gray kept watching the planet, noting how Earth's ships had arranged themselves in a perfect defensive pattern. They were showing off both their ability to defend themselves and their clear warning to stay back. "Tell them, we've found something we've never encountered before. A species that seems to have known we were coming and has chosen not to talk to us. And most importantly," he turned to face his crew, his expression serious. "Tell them we may have finally met a civilization that doesn't need our help and doesn't want it either." As the message went out to the Council, Gray noticed something else. The humans were moving more ships into position. Each movement was precise, purposeful, professional. They weren't acting like a species seeing advanced aliens for the first time. They were acting like a species that had been preparing for this exact moment for a very, very long time. "Keep watching everything they do," Gray ordered. "Something tells me the Galactic Council is about to learn a hard lesson. Not every species follows the path we expect. These humans, it seems, have their own ideas about how this should go." The Council's grand chamber buzzed with hundreds of worried voices. Representatives from thousands of different worlds filled the circular room, all talking at once, all concerned. In the center stood Ambassador Gray, his report having caused more worry than anything in recent memory. Council President White raised one hand, and the room fell instantly silent. "Ambassador Gray, let me make sure I understand. You're saying these humans not only spotted us coming long before we arrived, but they've apparently been preparing for alien contact without ever once trying to reach out to us." "Yes, President," Gray replied, his voice carrying clearly through the quiet chamber. What we found in their historical records is fascinating. For hundreds of years, they've been imagining what alien life might be like. But here's the key difference. Instead of just wondering, they prepared. The holographic display in the center of the chamber came alive, showing images from Earth's past. These humans have an unusual characteristic, Gray continued. They consistently prepare for the worst possible outcome. Their entertainment, their stories, their military planning, all of it shows a species that expects the unexpected. A council member from the science division rose to speak. But surely they must want what we can offer them. Our advanced technology, our medical knowledge, every single species we've ever contacted has been eager to accept membership. Gray shook his head slowly. That's exactly what makes humans different. Look at this. The hologram shifted to display Earth's defensive network. They've built a planetary defense system that rivals our own technology. They achieved this on their own, following their own unique path. Impossible, shouted one of the older council members. No species can advance that quickly without guidance from more experienced civilizations. President White leaned forward in his chair, his eyes fixed on Gray. Ambassador, what does your gut tell you about these humans? Gray paused, choosing his words with care. They're warriors who have learned how to live peacefully with themselves. Their history is filled with conflicts, but these conflicts push them to advance rapidly. Unlike most species we've encountered, they never stopped preparing for threats, even after they achieved unity across their entire world. The hologram changed again, showing Earth's military conducting exercises. In the week since we arrived, they've run 3 major space defense drills. Their ships move with perfect coordination. Their communications are encrypted so well that our best systems can't break the codes. They're showing us what they can do while pretending we don't exist. A wave of uneasy murmurs spread through the chamber. President White raised his hand again. What choices do we have? 3 options, Gray replied. First, we could leave and respect their unspoken request to be left alone. Second, we could try a more forceful approach to diplomacy. Or third, he paused, looking around at the assembled representatives. We could try to understand why they're so different from every species we've ever met. The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members demanded they withdraw immediately. Others called for forcing the humans to engage in diplomatic talks. But President White remained quiet, studying the images of Earth's defenses with thoughtful eyes. Finally, he spoke. Ambassador Gray, you will continue observing, but I want you to do something we've never done before. Study not just what they can do, but why they're doing it. Why would a species choose isolation when they could join our council? What do they know, or think they know, that makes them so cautious? As the session ended, Gray looked one more time at the hologram of Earth floating in the center of the chamber. In all his years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered a species that chose to stand alone. The humans weren't acting out of fear or aggression. Their response was too calculated, too well planned for that. They were acting out of deliberate choice. Perhaps, Gray thought as he left the chamber, we're asking the wrong question. It's not about why they won't join us. It's about what they see when they look at us that makes them want to keep their distance. The council had encountered a puzzle they couldn't solve with their usual methods. For the first time in their long history, they would have to wait for another species to decide if and when they wanted to make contact. The balance of power had shifted in a way no one had anticipated. The council's observation ship floated silently in the void, hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon. Inside, a team of the galaxy's finest analysts worked around the clock, studying everything they could learn about humanity. What they discovered made them increasingly uncomfortable. Ambassador Gray, you need to look at this right now, called the lead analyst, his voice urgent. He pointed to his screen, where data scrolled past at incredible speed. We've managed to decode more of their military communications. The humans have something they call the Silent Shield Protocol. Gray moved closer, his silver eyes reflecting the glow of the screen. Tell me about it. It's not just a defense system. It's a complete response strategy that they developed over 50 years ago. The humans didn't just prepare for first contact. They prepared for every possible type of first contact imaginable. The analyst pulled up more files, his hands moving quickly across the controls. Look at this. They have detailed protocols for peaceful contact, hostile invasion, technology trade offers, biological threats, cultural exchange programs, and even, he paused, his voice dropping, even for the possibility that advanced aliens might try to help them by controlling their development. Gray felt a chill run through his entire body. They predicted exactly what we would do. Not just predicted. Another analyst chimed in. They built countermeasures specifically designed to protect against it. The display switched to show Earth's orbital defense network. Those satellites that look so ordinary, they're part of a massive hidden network. The entire system is designed to protect Earth's independence from outside influence. A third analyst spoke up from across the room. Sir, we found something in their entertainment archives. For centuries, they've been telling stories about alien contact. But here's the interesting part. Many of these stories are warnings about advanced civilizations offering gifts and technology. Gray watched as clips from human movies and books flashed across the screen. Stories of alien civilizations offering advanced technology only to slowly take control of the recipient world. Tales of humanity fighting to remain free. Warnings about the hidden price of accepting help from more powerful beings. They taught themselves to be cautious. Gray murmured. Through their stories, their art, their entertainment, they prepared their entire species to be careful about first contact. They imagined every scenario and decided how they would respond. The ship's captain entered the observation room, his expression tense. Ambassador, we're detecting unusual activity on Earth's surface. They're running some kind of global defense drill right now. The main screen switched to a live feed of Earth. Across the entire planet, military forces moved with practiced precision. Orbital platforms shifted positions. Ground-based defense systems activated, then went dark again. All of it happened without a single spoken command that they could detect. They're not just showing us what they can do. Gray realized, his voice filled with newfound respect. They're showing us their unity. Every nation, every military force, moving as one perfect unit. The lead analyst nodded. We found references to something called the Guardian Agreement in their military archives. After their last World War, Earth's nations made a secret pact. They would keep their separate identities and governments. But if extraterrestrial contact ever occurred, they would act as a single entity. Gray watched as Earth's forces completed their drill with flawless coordination. How long have they known we were coming? The analyst checked his data. Based on our analysis of their deep space monitoring programs, they detected our survey ships at the edge of their solar system 3 years ago. They've been quietly preparing ever since 3 years, Gray repeated softly. Most species would have announced the discovery to their entire world. Started celebrations. Begun preparing welcome ceremonies. The humans did something completely different. They kept it secret. The captain added, strengthened their defenses, created the Silent Shield Protocol, all without causing panic among their population or revealing that they knew about us. Gray turned away from the screens, his mind racing through the implications. We thought we were studying them, but they've been studying us too. Every move we make, they watch and analyze. They're not responding to our messages because they're learning about us through our actions, not our words. Ambassador, the lead analyst said quietly, what do we do now? Gray looked back at the image of Earth, seeing it with entirely new eyes. We keep watching, but understand this clearly. We're no longer dealing with a primitive species learning about the galaxy for the first time. We're dealing with a unified world that chose preparation over celebration, caution over eagerness, and independence over easy advancement. He paused, letting his words sink in. And that makes them more dangerous and more interesting than any species we've ever encountered in 10,000 years of exploration. The observation continued, but the dynamic had fundamentally changed. The Watchers had become the watched, and everyone in that ship knew it. This is a mistake, Ambassador, Gray said firmly, watching as the Council's ships moved into position directly above Earth's major cities. After weeks of silence from humanity, the Council had voted to force the issue. 20 massive ships now hung in the sky, visible to millions of people below. From his position on the flagship, Gray could see the lights of New York City spreading out beneath them like a jeweled blanket. Similar scenes were playing out above London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, and other major cities across the globe. The Council expected panic, chaos, and a desperate rush to open communications. They got something entirely different. Sir, the sensor officer called out, his voice filled with alarm, detecting multiple launches from Earth's surface. Gray rushed to the display. Across the planet, hundreds of objects were rising from hidden facilities. Their paths formed an intricate web around the planet. But these weren't missiles or attack ships. They were satellites, small defense platforms, and observation units, all moving with precise coordination. Incoming message, announced the communications officer. Audio only, broadcasting on all frequencies. A calm, professional voice filled the bridge. There was no hint of panic or fear in it. This is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your vessels have entered restricted space without proper authorization. While we acknowledge your previous attempts at communication, we have chosen not to engage. You have 30 minutes to return to your previous positions beyond lunar orbit. This is not a request. The Council ship's sensors suddenly lit up with warnings. The newly launched satellites had created a complex energy grid, connecting with the previously hidden defense network. Earth's full orbital defense system was now visible, and it was far more extensive than anyone had realized. Ambassador, the captain said urgently, her face pale, their defense grid, it's not just defensive. Those satellites could overwhelm our ship systems if they wanted to. Gray studied the tactical display with growing respect and concern. The humans had revealed just enough of their true capabilities to make their threat crystal clear, while undoubtedly keeping even more in reserve. Send the order to all ships. Begin withdrawal to lunar orbit immediately. But sir, the captain protested. The Council's orders were explicit. We were supposed to. The Council didn't expect this level of preparation, Gray replied firmly. Look at the surface below. On Earth, there was no panic whatsoever. No chaos in the streets. News channels continued their regular broadcasts, though now they included calm announcements about a planned defense exercise. People went about their daily lives, occasionally glancing up at the massive alien ships overhead with what looked more like mild annoyance than fear. As the Council ships began their retreat, another message came through. This time it included a video feed showing a man in a crisp military uniform, Admiral Stone himself. Ambassador Gray, Stone said, his expression neutral but firm. We appreciate the Council's interest in Earth. However, we have studied your organization's history of peaceful integration quite thoroughly. We've observed how member worlds slowly lose their unique identities, becoming more similar to each other with each passing decade. Humanity has chosen a different path. Gray found himself nodding, even though Stone couldn't see him. You've been watching us for much longer than we realized. We detected your survey ships years ago, Stone confirmed. We've had time to study your methods, your culture, and your impact on member worlds. Our silence was not a rejection of contact. It was a conscious choice to maintain our independence while we evaluated your true intentions and methods. The tactical display showed Earth's defense grid powering down slightly. It was a gesture of good faith, but one that left more than enough systems active to enforce their demands if necessary. The Council will need to completely rethink its approach, Gray said quietly. Stone's expression softened slightly. Perhaps that's not such a bad thing, Ambassador. Humanity is willing to interact with the galactic community, but it will be on our terms, not yours. We will not be rushed, pressured, or coerced into membership. We choose our own path. As the Council ships resumed their positions behind the moon, Gray realized they had just witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that had not only anticipated first contact, but had prepared so thoroughly that they could dictate terms to the mighty Galactic Council. Send a priority message to the Council, Gray ordered. Tell them we need to call an emergency session immediately. The humans haven't just rejected our diplomatic approach, they've proven that it needs to change fundamentally. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 3 solid days. The Grand Chamber, usually a place of calm and reasoned debate, had turned into an arena of heated arguments and raised voices. The human response to their show of force had split the Council into bitterly opposing camps. This is absolutely unacceptable, thundered Councillor Red, his fist striking the podium. No species has ever dared to threaten Council ships. We must show them the consequences of such defiance. Murmurs of agreement rose from one section of the chamber, but Ambassador Gray noticed that many other Council members remained silent, their expressions thoughtful rather than angry. President White raised his hand, calling for silence. Before we continue this debate, I believe we should review the human capabilities one more time. Ambassador Gray, please proceed. Gray stepped to the center of the chamber, activating the holographic display. The human silent shield protocol isn't just a defense system, it's a statement of intent. They revealed exactly enough technology to show us they can match our capabilities. While clearly holding much more in reserve, the display showed Earth's defense grid, now mostly hidden again, but still actively monitoring all Council ships. More importantly, they've demonstrated perfect unity. Every nation, every military force, working together without a single moment of hesitation. No chaos, no panic, no internal disagreement. That level of coordination takes years to develop. That's exactly why they're so dangerous. Councillor Red interrupted. A species that united and advanced, choosing to stand apart from us. They could become a threat to galactic stability. Or, came a quiet voice from the other side of the chamber, they could be exactly what we need. All heads turned toward Councillor Blue, one of the oldest and most respected members of the Council. She hadn't spoken since the session began, which made her words carry even more weight. For 10,000 years, she continued, rising slowly to her feet. We have followed the same pattern. Find developing worlds, offer them membership, guide their development. Yes, we've built a peaceful galaxy, but look at what we've lost along the way. She gestured to the gathered representatives, her voice growing stronger. How many member worlds now look almost identical to each other? How many unique paths of development have we inadvertently stopped? How many species have lost the very things that made them special? The chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence. Gray showed more images from Earth, their art, their cities, their diverse ways of life. The humans didn't reject us out of fear or hatred. They rejected us because they want to preserve this. He zoomed in on a street scene showing dozens of different cultures mixing together naturally. Their unity doesn't erase their differences. They've found a way to be one species while remaining distinctly, beautifully different from each other. President White leaned forward in his chair. What are our real options here? Ambassador, Councillor Red suggests using force, Gray said carefully, but the human response to our show of strength proves they're prepared for that scenario. What else could we try? We could blockade their entire system, one member suggested. Force them to engage with us eventually. And lose any chance of peaceful relations forever, Gray countered. Besides, they've shown us they can detect our ships at extreme range. They would see any buildup of forces long before we could act. they'd have time to prepare even more. Counselor Blue stood again. There is another option, one we haven't tried in thousands of years. She paused, looking around the entire chamber. We could wait, let them develop in their own way, show them through our actions that we can respect their choice, and if they become a threat, Counselor Red demanded. They're only a threat if we make them one, Gray replied. They've already said they're willing to interact with us on their terms. Perhaps it's time for the council to learn how to deal with a species that sees itself as our equal, not our student. President White was quiet for a long moment, studying the images of Earth glowing on the display. Finally, he spoke. In all our history, we've never encountered a species that could force us to question our own methods. Until now. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various council members. Perhaps that alone is reason enough to try a completely new approach. The debate continued for hours more, but Gray could see the shift happening in the room. The council faced a fundamental choice. They could adapt to a new kind of relationship with a species that demanded equal footing, or they could risk pushing humanity into becoming the very threat they feared. The humans, Gray thought, might just change us as much as we've changed thousands of other species. While the council debated, their intelligence ships made a breakthrough. They finally managed to intercept and decode a high-level transmission from Earth's Defense Command. What they found changed everything. Ambassador Gray, the intelligence officer, called urgently. You need to see this immediately. Gray watched as the decoded message played on the main screen. It was a recording of an Earth Defense Council meeting from 6 months before the council's arrival. 6 months before. Our deep space arrays have confirmed it. A general was saying in the recording, the Galactic Council's survey ships are exactly where we predicted they would be. They're following the same pattern they've used with other worlds. The next speaker was Captain Rivers, head of Earth's Technological Defense Division. We've completed our comprehensive analysis of their member worlds. The pattern is undeniable. Every species that joins the Council gradually loses its unique development path. Within a few generations, they all start to look the same, think the same, develop along the same lines. Gray felt a chill run through him. The humans had been studying the Council long before first contact, and they'd seen something that deeply troubled them. As if responding to his thoughts, a new message appeared on their communication screen. Ambassador Gray, this is Captain Rivers. We know you've intercepted our transmission. Perhaps it's time we talked properly. Minutes later, a human ship appeared from behind Earth's moon. It was unlike anything the Council had seen before. Sleek, advanced, and completely invisible to their standard sensors until it chose to reveal itself. Permission to dock with your ship. Ambassador, Rivers' voice came through again. I believe it's time for a proper demonstration. After receiving clearance from the Council, Gray welcomed Captain Rivers aboard. The human captain was tall, wearing a simple black uniform with minimal markings. But what struck Gray most was her confident, relaxed manner. She showed no fear or awe at being aboard an alien vessel. Your ships have been watching us, Rivers said, without any preamble. She placed a small device on the briefing room table. A hologram appeared, showing Earth's full defense capabilities. The Council's observers had seen perhaps 10% of their true strength. This isn't about military power, Rivers explained, noting Gray's shocked expression. This is about potential, human potential. The hologram shifted, showing various Earth cities, laboratories, and research centers. We've been monitoring how the Council influences its member worlds. You provide them with advanced technology. You teach them your ways. You help them develop. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? It has brought peace to thousands of worlds, Gray defended. At what cost? Rivers challenged. She showed comparison images. Council member worlds from 50 years ago, then 100, then 200 years. They all followed increasingly similar development paths. Their unique characteristics faded over time. Their innovative spirit dimmed. They became comfortable, content, but also less dynamic. Gray watched as Rivers displayed more evidence. Humanity is messy, Rivers continued. We argue with each other. We compete. We sometimes fight. But this chaos drives us forward. We develop in unexpected ways. We solve problems differently than anyone else would. We don't want to lose that spark. You're not rejecting membership, Gray realized. You're protecting your potential for growth. Rivers nodded. We're willing to interact with the galaxy. Trade, cultural exchange, diplomatic relations. All of that is possible. But we will not let anyone, no matter how well-meaning, guide our development. We choose our own path, even if it's harder. To demonstrate her point, Rivers activated another function on her device. Suddenly, every Council ship's sensor system went completely dark for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back online, everything was normal again. That's just one of hundreds of technologies we've developed, Rivers said calmly. Not better or worse than yours, just different, because we found our own unique way to solve the problem. Gray understood at last. The humans weren't being hostile or fearful. They were protecting something precious and irreplaceable. Their unique way of seeing and interacting with the universe. Their potential to surprise themselves and everyone else with unexpected solutions. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so completely quiet. Ambassador Gray stood at the center, presenting his final report on humanity. Behind him, Captain Rivers waited calmly. She was the first human ever to stand before the full council. Honored council members, Gray began, his voice carrying through the silent chamber. We came to Earth expecting to find another species to guide and mentor. Instead, we found a mirror, one that shows us what we've become and what we've been doing to other species, even with the very best intentions. The holographic display showed images from various council member worlds, their cultures slowly blending into uniformity over generations. Then it shifted to Earth, showing its vibrant mix of different cultures, technologies, and ways of thinking and living. The humans, Gray continued, have achieved something remarkable. They've united their entire world without losing their diversity. They've advanced their technology without following our standard development path. They've prepared for threats without becoming threatening themselves. Their response has been carefully calculated, not reactive. President White leaned forward. Captain Rivers, would you care to address the council directly? Rivers stepped forward, her simple black uniform standing out among the elaborate robes worn by council members. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not here to criticize the council. Peace among thousands of worlds is an incredible achievement, but humanity has chosen a different path for ourselves. She activated a small device, and new images appeared. Earth's ships and satellites pulling back, reducing their defensive posture. We're willing to establish formal relations with the Galactic Council, but as equals, not as students. We'll trade knowledge and goods. We'll share what we learn. We'll participate in cultural exchange programs, but we will develop in our own way, at our own pace, following our own vision. Counselor Red stood up abruptly. And if we don't agree to these terms? Rivers smiled slightly, her expression respectful but firm. With all due respect, Counselor, we're not asking for permission. We're stating facts. Earth will interact with the galaxy on these terms, or we won't interact at all. The choice is yours, not ours. The chamber erupted in murmurs and whispered conversations, but President White raised his hand, calling for silence. Ambassador Gray, what is your recommendation? Gray looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various council members. I recommend we accept humanity's terms. But more than that, I recommend we learn from them. For 10,000 years, we've followed the same pattern of integration. Perhaps it's time to consider that there might be other valid ways to approach galactic relations. He brought up a final display showing a proposed new framework. I suggest creating a new category of relationship with the Council. Not members, not subjects, but autonomous allies, species who maintain their complete independence while still participating in galactic affairs when they choose to. You would change 10,000 years of tradition. Counselor Red challenged. Tradition should guide us, not bind us in chains. Counselor Blue responded, her ancient voice carrying wisdom. The humans have shown us that there can be great strength in choosing a different path. Perhaps we've forgotten that lesson over the millennia. President White studied Captain Rivers for a long moment. What guarantees do we have that Earth won't eventually become a threat to galactic peace and stability? The same guarantee you have from any sovereign world, Rivers replied. Our word, our actions, and our shared interest in a stable, peaceful galaxy. We don't want to be your enemies. We don't want to be your students either. We want to be your neighbors. Good neighbors who respect boundaries and work together when it benefits everyone. The president nodded slowly, then turned to address the full council. It seems we have a fundamental choice before us. We can try to force humanity to follow our traditional path and likely face centuries of conflict and resentment. Or we can accept that the galaxy might be large enough for different approaches to coexist peacefully. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than any in council history. But in the end, they approved Gray's proposal. Earth would become the first autonomous ally of the Galactic Council. A new category of relationship, one built on mutual respect rather than guidance. As Rivers prepared to return to Earth, Gray walked with her to her ship. You've changed everything, you know, he said. Other species will see what you've done. They'll want the same arrangement. Rivers smiled, looking out at the stars through the docking bay window. Change isn't always comfortable, Ambassador, but it is inevitable. Perhaps the Council needed a reminder of that fundamental truth. What happens now? Gray asked. Now, Rivers looked thoughtful. Now we all learned something new. How to be different together. How to be united without being uniform. How to share a galaxy while respecting each other's right to choose their own path. As the human ship departed, Gray watched Earth glowing in the distance, a blue jewel against the darkness of space. The humans had done more than reject traditional diplomacy. They had shown the entire galaxy a new way forward. One, where unity didn't require uniformity, and where strength could be found in choosing your own unique path. The galaxy would never be quite the same again. And perhaps, Gray thought, that was exactly what it needed.